So today we have finance class number 4, right? So the first part of the class will be based on the practical exercise of homework assignments, which we have both on the previous classes, based on accounting concepts and the trial balance. As well, we do the new exercise based on trial balance, try to solve it together. Then we continue, if we have a time series, we continue with the new topics about the measuring and reporting the financial positions. We are going to talk about balance sheet and the income statement in details and going to identify each of accounts. As well, the additional topic would be the preparation of final accounts, which is income statement and the balance sheet. And I have some additional topic for you, the balance sheet and income statement definitions and some examples for you. Why we have a new topics with the 3 kind of presentation. I'm trying to provide you the best information, and we should be clear for you to understandable. As well, after the class will send you the homework based on the trial balance, because we have done already the trial balance exercise, right? But that one will be additional for you to strengthen your knowledge in the trial balance, okay? And if I would see if we would finish today the new topic, then I'll give you another homework assignment, which is based as well on the income statement and the balance sheet. That will be more complicated for you, but it would be very interesting. And I have some finance exam instruction which you already received in your emails. If you have any question based on it, just go ahead. But we do it. Okay, let's start from the instruction on the finance exam. Then we continue with the homework assignments, okay? Because it would be better for the rest of students who didn't join yet. Here is. So you will be evaluated or assessed on the finance subject based on the exam papers. So exam questions include all the topics which will be in the classes during our study. So, and all questions are practical. So I want to include some theory questions, because the theory it's easy for you, because you can't find any information theory in the internet, search it in the Google, as well you can find in my presentation. But the most important is the practical exercise, that you'll be able to solve any problem regarding the accounting, right? And as well, those practical exercises will be similar that we have already, like a trial balance, like you had accounting equation, remember? As well, we will have on income statement, on the cash flow statements, all the financial statements that we are going to learn. We have some practical exercise. And then, what about the number of questions? Will be around of 8 main questions for 8 different topics, which is the main topics of accounting and finance. And each question might include 1 to 3 assignments. It's based on the question itself. For example, if you have a balance sheet assignment, there will be a question like prepare the balance sheet from the following information. This is the one question. But in the future, we have some topics which is about the ratio analysis or about the decision making. And under those topics, you would have 2 or 3 assignments, because the assignments would be easier and includes a few solutions. So as well as I told you the last time, you would have 24 hours to complete your answers and send me to my mail. So this late submission would be evaluated as a fail on finance exam. If you do it later, then it's 24 hours given you. It depends as well, I would see your circumstances. If you would submit later or you won't submit it. But the better if you do it submit. As well, if you do submit on later for 10 or 20 minutes, that is fine, because I do understand about the internet connection, difference time, and so on. So as well, so we have a submission date of the assignment would be in the middle of May. It's approximately, I will just tell you, but at the before 2 or 3 weeks, I will announce you which exactly date would be the exam date. And all the exam papers with the questions will send you on your emails. So it's better if you won't change your mailboxes first, and if you do it, just remind me before the exam. So any questions so far about the instruction on the exam? I think it's clear, right? Because we had some discussion on the previous class. As well, this instruction would give you a clear picture. So thank you. So no questions. So we're going to move on our assignments. So here is, we had assignment based on accounting concepts, right? The accounting concept is very important topic, and it's very important, the concept, if you do understand what they means actually, and why we should follow them when we do any accounting in our company, business, or any enterprise. The first question is sorry. So you have to fill the blanks with the most accurate answer that you think so. So financial statement prepared on a yearly basis complies with the assumption of accounting period. That is the correct answer. So you remember we had all the definitions of conventions, the accounting principles and the conventions. So there were as well the account period principle, which state that financial statements should be prepared on the yearly basis, each year, which means. Next one, as I know for the A1, for the question A, you do give me a right answer. I'm satisfied with that. For the B, the principle that required the economic resource of the entity to be recorded at the original cost at time of purchase is the principle of historical cost, right? So we always, when we do any kind of, we prepare the financial statement as a, for example, balance sheet, all our assets, which is the fixed assets, we should put on them on the original cost that when we bought it. So the C is the account, what the information must have a feedback value, forecast value, and the present on the timely basis. So what is kind of course, it's accounting information, right? So accounting information must have all the given to you feedback values and forecast one. And what is account information? Logically, we do understand that it's all financial statements, which you prepared on the timely basis, right? So if you do give me answer like is account information or is financial statement information, the both answer would be correct. So next one for the D. Okay, sorry. Yes, I have some question about you. Can you say? Can you give answer for the C as accounting financial information? Right. This is the same as the accounting information, because under accounting information we understand that is the financial statements, right? So the financial statement information as well could be as accounting information. So you see, first you remember your assignment was about the fill the blank with the most accurate answer. So if you think that the most accurate answer for the C is the accounting information or financial statement information, both would be correct. For the D, the professional body responsible for setting the accounting standards in Malaysia is Malaysian Accounting Standards Board. So for this question, I should revise it because this exercise was given you based on my study in Malaysia. But we can say that as well, what's the professional body that is responsible for setting the accounting standards in Afghanistan? What do you think? Or in international, in the world? So in the Malaysia, it's the Malaysian Accounting Standards Board. If we talk about the international, the overall, it's International Accounting Standards Board. So in Afghanistan, I think if we have some accounts in our class, they should know it. Maybe it's called like Afghanistan Accounting Standards Board. So for this question, I know you had some little problems, but it's okay because I should revise to change Malaysia to, for example, Afghanistan or say in the world. It's okay, fine. So next one, for the question E. The qualitative characteristic that enables you to depend on the information represented is accounting information. This is answer. And if we do think logically, accounting information is a financial statements, right? And what is the financial statements? You know it. It's a balance sheet, it's income statement, and the cash flow statements, right? So, and I have a different answer for this question. Some of you would confuse with that, put just a balance sheet, but it would be a correct answer if you put on the E answer as a balance sheet, because it's a part of the whole answer, that is the financial statements. It's accounting. You see, this question is very wide. So if the question is wide, of course we can put the very closely different kind of answers, like which we call accounting information, or you put the financial statement answer, or balance sheet, or the income statement. Next one, the F, question F, the principle that matches the revenue with the expense in the specific count is the principle of matching, right? So we have a definition for principle of matching. Is same. The answer is the same as here. We have all the words should be closely. I think no question for that. For the G, not all account information can be disclosed in detail due to constraints of principle of full disclosure and the principle of materiality. You remember we have talked about like we have some different kind of activities in the company, like hiring people, like it won't be some accounting information because it's not materiality, right? So it won't be included in our statements. So, and this is the answer, like what kind of activity that is not, we want it put down on the financial statements, based on what kind of principles, like materiality principle, like all materiality activities would be included on the income statements, or any kind of statement, financial statement, and as well the principle of full disclosure, right? So, next one, the H. The branch of account that prepares the specialized information for the internal users and not subject to specified standard format is the management accounting. So you don't have this kind of information in your topics, but this is overall information which all people should know, or you could search it in the internet. That we have two kinds of users. You remember, which is internal users, like staff, the employees, and the management itself. And we have some external users, which is shareholders or investors, or some banks or other government bodies. So based on our users, we provide two kinds of accounting. So the management accounting would be prepared for the internal users only. And financial accounting prepared for outsiders, the people who wants to use our information for their own purposes, as a bank, a government, or some taxation departments, and so on. So this is the management accounting for the H. So next one, I. According to the assumption of going concern, this here is always the going concern, the entities are to continue to exist in operation in the future. That's right, yeah? Here is given you already the definition of the principle of going concern. Okay, sorry, I have some question. Let me see first. Okay. Some of you asked me about the results. I didn't understand what kind of result you are asking for. Do you asking for the homework assignments? I won't put your homework assignment results like after you have done your assignments, because I do it when I evaluate based on exam, and they will be included on your marks. So for the G1, you have some kind of questions. So not all account information can be disclosed in detail due to constraints of principle of full disclosure and the materiality, right? Like that means, like you should think that what kind of materiality principle is. The materiality principles say that all the activities which could be measured in the money, in the money units, or in the as a financial one, would be included in our statements, right? Which is not included is in maturity. So here is says that not account information would be included as a maturity one due to the principle of maturity and the principle of the full disclosure. So next one, just J. The question J, revenue is normally recognized when it's collected, and this is the principle of income recognition, right? This is as well the already given your answer, and in your topics you have it. So we recognize the revenue when we collect it, when we collect from our customers or suppliers, or when we get it as a cash, or we get it as some transfer by the bank accounts. So, and this principle called the income recognition, right? Next one is a K. The statement that shows the cash flow of an entity for a specific period is a cash flow statement. You see, the question already giving you the answer. What kind of statement that shows the cash flow is the cash flow statement, right? We have, because we haven't studied about the cash flow statement. Some of you might confuse with that, but it's okay. Next one, what actually lists all the assets, liabilities, and the owner's equity of an entity in a specific period? Is a balance sheet, right? In the balance sheet, we can see what kind of assets company have, what kind of liabilities, or what kind of owner's equity company have. And balance sheet we prepare on the specific period. Mostly we use it and prepare at the end of the year. So here is to show you all the correct answer. Most of your answers being are correct. That's very good that you do understand. I know you have some confused with some questions. It's okay. It's okay, because you might don't find that information in your topics, or you like about the cash flow statement, we haven't finished those topics. So if now any question, we can move on to another homework assignment, which is based on the trial balance. So sorry, I have some questions about G. What is earned? Just a moment, G. So revenue is normally recognized when it's collected. That means we recognize that we accept our revenue when we receive it in our accounts, for example, bank accounts or as a cash in our pots, for example. And this is called the principle of income recognition. So some of you put that revenue is normally recognized when is income. So you remember what is revenue? The revenue minus expense give us the profit or loss for the company, right? Or some of you say that is revenue is recognized when it's more than expenses. No, this the profit is recognized when is revenue is more than expenses, but the revenue is recognized when it's already received in our accounts. So you should remember the formula about the revenue, how we recognize the profit or loss. There's revenue minus expenses gives you the profit or loss, right? And when revenue is more than expense, it would be profit. If it's expense more than revenue, it will give us a loss, right? So okay, so I think it's now question is clear already. So based on this exercise, now you better know the meanings of the principles and the conventions of accounting. And I think this would be you could remind it. Okay, next one is a trial balance. So here is what is assignment were. So show the ledger account or show the trial balance for the following. You should show the trial balance for this following information. So here is the transaction involving Edlin Enterprise throughout the month of February 2000 are. And given you a different kind of transactions with different dates, right? And we should put all of them on the trial balance and get the equation. Let me show you the answer here. So first, what is trial balance? You remember the trial balance when we put all our accounts on a specific form and divide on the debit and credits, which should be equal to each of them. So here is, let's start from the first transaction. The February 1st, the purchase office supplies by the cash 274 Malaysian ringgit. So we have bought the office supplies, office equipment, for example. Here is, we show the office supplies and we put on the debit side 274 Malaysian ringgit. Why is we put on the debit side? Because office supplies as the office equipment is our assets, the company assets, right? When these company assets are increasing, like we bought it, we put it, like we bring all the office furniture in our offices, our company. So it's increased in the quantity, right? So as it increased, we should put on the debit side. So assets are increased by the 274. So next transaction is February 2. Edlin withdrew the cash from the business, totaling the 2,000 for personal use. This is the drawings, right? So the Edlin, he took some money for his personal use. So here is, as a drawing is as we assume as expenses. When they are increased, it's our assets, right? So put on the debit side 2,000. Here is. Let me highlight for you first. Here is. So we put the drawings withdrew by Edlin for personal use for 2,000. So next one, February 5th. So what we have done. So sorry, I have some question. Let me see what kind of question you are asking for. Yeah, I'm not. I don't understand what you're asking. Some Mr. Hakmal Vardak, what do you ask him about your qualified? So, so let the other question, which is not related to the class, would be leave it at the end of the class, okay? Because the first important we do that our learning, our study. So the February 5th is we received the 2,740 cash from the customer for payment on accounts receivable. So we received the cash. You should understand that the company received the cash money of the 2,740. And then here is that means our assets are being increased, right? Because we received the cash money in our accounts. Here is we show that cash accounts receivable calls this accounts receivable, or we call it as a cash. We received that at the 2,740, and when our assets will be increased, we show it on the debit side, right? So let me see your questions. I have some questions in the chart. So, okay, so some of you are asking me why we put the 274 on the debit side. First, we received a cash that is accounts receivable. Cash is our assets. You have to remember. Cash under the assets accounts. If our assets increase, as the cash one increase, or the increasing we show on the debit side always. You remember we have done the study about if our assets or liabilities increase, where we have to show it or put it on the debit side or the credit side. When assets are increasing, all is debit side. When liability and owner's equity increasing, all is credit side. Okay. And here is when I give you this kind of assignments, you have to identify first, is this account is the assets or liability or owner's equity? If first identify which belongs to, if it's assets and increasing, then you show on the debit side. Because assets on the debit side is increasing. On the credit side is decreasing. And vice versa is the opposite side for the liability and the owner's equity. When liabilities, our claims are increasing, we show on the credit side. Okay. So next one, the February 9th, we purchased office equipment valued at 4,000, and we purchased on credit. You have to remember that we purchased on credit first. So the seller agreed to give a discount of 150 from the amount. So first we identify what kind of transaction is, what is the account belongs to assets or liabilities or owner's equity. That when we purchase the office equipment at the 4,000, and as well, we should remember that we purchased on the credit, that we haven't paid the cash money yet. We pay it later. Firstly, you might think that if our office equipment is increased for 4,000, we should put on our assets are increasing for 4,000, right? But the important thing that is given you that shows it's being purchased on the credit. That means, firstly, our liabilities has been increased for 4,000. Liabilities in front of our the shopping mall, for example, where we bought the office equipment. And as well, the second transaction is that we received some discount for 150, right? This is very important as well. So let's see the answers. Here is the first. Office equipment bought on credit. That means our liabilities has been increased. Because we bought on the credit, we haven't paid the money. So we put as well our liabilities is increasing. It should be on the credit side because liability increase on the credit side only. You see, we showed the 4,000 on the credit side. Next one, we receive the discounts, right? It's called the discount receivable for 150, and we put it on the debit side because it seems as discount seems as we receive some money. We put on the debit side 150. So any questions so far? So here is, I have some question answers that you say that we have to deduct 150 from the 4,000 and show that we bought the office equipment for 3,815. But it won't be correct because of, you remember, our accounting conventions, our accounting principles. The accounting principle, which is called historical cost, that we should put the prices at that date when we bought at that price that we have bought any kind of assets. So if we bought our office equipment by the 4,000, no, never mind if we receive any kind of discounts, but on the bills we will show that we are going to pay 4,000. So we should put on the trial balance that is the 4,000. But if we do receive any kind of discounts or like from our customers or partners, we put it that we received that the discounts and it would be increased in the assets. So never put that already you are going to put the balance between the price of the office and the discount, like a 3,850. First, show the historical cost of your any kind of activity you have done, bought or sell the products. Then, if you do receive any kind of discounts, or you are giving the discounts, you must show in the trial balance. Because if you just show that we bought the office equipment, for example, for 3,850, then like who doesn't know what you have done, what kind of activity you have done in your company, like some external users, they see this trial balance, they think that you bought office equipment for 3,000, and I haven't seen that you received the discounts or something else. You see? So the important information, put all details on the trial balance, what you have done, both sale, you have bought or you have sold the products or services. But as it is, we have bought it on the credit, we purchased the equipment by the credit, we show that our liabilities in front of the shop, which we have made the purchase, is being increased for 4,000. You see, and we put on the credit side. If we pay on the cash, by cash, for example, for the office equipment, we must show as the first transaction, like office supplies being purchased for 274, you see? But we bought it on the credit, so this is the important thing. Every word is important in the transactions when you do. So next one, let me show you. Okay, the February 15th, make payment to accounts payable for 1,200. So the company made some payments, right? So you have to identify that if we made the payment, that we made the money, actually the cash money, it goes out from the company, from our accounts. As we pay from always we do any kind of payments from our capital, right? Because capital is our own money. So if it's increased, then we show on the credit side. Here is accounts payable that we paid. We make some payment. If it's payment that been increased as expense, we put on the credit side 1,200. So this is called accounts payable. Always when you see the words the accounts payable, if it's been increased, you show on the credit side. Okay, next one, February 18th. We received the cash for service provided for 580. So we received some money for services. So first, let's identify what kind of transaction is. Well, first, you think that we receive the cash, the cash might increase, right? But you should understand that the whole sentence, that we received cash for services that we provide. That means we received the money for business we do, for what we do, sell or products, or provide some services, or sell some goods, and so on. So this is as our revenue, right? When we receive money for the business that we do, that is our revenue. If our revenue is being increased, we show that is our capital is being increased, right? And here is we show that the sales revenue is being increased as our capital is. So we show on the credit side for 580, because revenue directly goes into the capital, into our capital amount. Okay, some of you ask me how to identify or record the transactions. First, think more widely and logically, that identify first what this transaction is. It brings money, or we do some payment, or we receive the payment first. And then, is it like our liabilities been increasing, that we have some claims, that, or is our capital as revenue is being increasing? Then we should put on the credit. Or is our assets, like we bought office, or we bought the land or building? Of course, that means our assets would be increased, and the asset increasing shows in the debit side, right? So it's like this. And it seems like a little complicated for you, because maybe most of you don't have a practice on the accounting, how to record. But you don't worry. At the end of our finance classes, you all will be able to make this kind of exercises. You should actually, if you do understand. If you have your question, you got my answers. So next one is February 25th. So we paid 420 to advertise its business in the newspaper. So first we identify. So we are making some advertising for our company, right? When we do advertising, we pay for this advertising. It's like in the TV or radio, any kind of advertising would be. And if we do payment, that means our expenses being increased, right? These expenses is being increased. We show on our assets. Here is advertising expenses is a 420 on the debit side being increased. So always remember, if we have any expenses, we do payments, always would be as our assets, because it's our activities that we do for our businesses, right? And our assets would be increased, as increase would be showed on the debit side. So, and next one, 28th of February. So we paid telephone bills, 75 for Edlin's house and 135 for business. So, and electricity bills, 42 for Edlin's house and 80 for business. All the payments had been made using money from his savings. Savings, right? So firstly, you should to identify all the paid telephones or electricity bills is our expenses, right? That means our expenses being increased. Then you remember about the separate business entity concept, which says that the owner's budget have to be actually separate from the business budget, right? But here is the Edlin paid them 75 for his own purpose, for his own houses, telephone bills, and only 135 he paid for the business, which is as well for electricity. 42 he paid for his own house, but 80 for business. And these all four kinds of payments, as you can see, is made using money from his savings. That means he used money from his own pocket. So that means, the simple words, he took money from his own pocket and paid for his own expenses, family expense like telephone, electricity bills, and as well from those money he paid for the business expenses. You see, this is very important. So this is very interesting transactions. So you might think, identify where we get the money first, from which pocket, the business, the company accounts, or from the owner's pocket, and then identify what this transaction is. So let me show you answers. So we put like telephone bills, electricity bills as utility expenses, we call it. So, and as we are preparing the trial balance for the early enterprise company, for the business, we have to take from the transactions all the made expenses which belongs to the business, like 135 and 80. Okay, this is very important. Then we show it that 185 plus 80, the utility expenses, is being paid, but they paid from the owner's pockets, right? That means the business accounts remain same. He didn't get any money from the business as a cash or non-cash. He took it from his own money. If he paid it for the company, that means the company has closed his bills, but the money is taken from outside. That means the company's liabilities being increased, and we show it on the credit side, because the company, the business itself, must to back the money 135 and 80 to the Edlin owner, because Edlin owner took the money from his own pocket. So that means the company's liability is being increased. So do you understand these transactions? First, we have to identify business expenses only, right? Then, where we have got those money to make any kind of payment, we got from outside. That means we took like some credit from owners. For example, we can assume like we took a credit from the owner to pay the business bills. And of course, if we check any kind of credits or loans, it means that our claims as liabilities are being increased and shown in the credit side. So some of you say that is clear, some of you haven't got it. So let me see your questions. So, okay. Okay, some of you confused why the transaction is so complicated. Like you show, we show that there's some expenses made for the Edlin owns purpose, and some for the business, and so on. It's because it's a real situation could be from the real company. If you are owner of your company, for example, you're like family, for example, you have a family business. Of course, this kind of situation could be happen. This is a normal situation, that when sometimes we have some cash money from our own pockets, and we go pay for the bills, for the company bills, because it needs time to get the money from the bank accounts, from the businesses, and it takes a time first, takes some efforts, and so on. So sometimes it would be more easily take the money from your own pockets and do some payments for your business, right? But actually it shouldn't be, because we have to separate our business budget with the personal budget. But it's a normal situation, all the owners do like this. And the common situation could be happen with this bills one. And sometimes when we have a few kind of bills from our from our family to pay the electricity or internet or telephone, and the company, we collect all of them and go for the bank or the cashier and pay all of them, right? This could be happen. Or for example, your neighbors ask you, if you are going to pay your bills, just please check my bills as well and pay for them. Then I will give you the money. So you do like this in your life, for example. Not all of you. I mean, some of you can do like this. So here is if your accounts or your accounts is sitting in the company, and owner says you, I paid this kind of different bills. This from my own home. This is from the business. So this is just take it. And he just gives you some kind of bills which is paid already. And he already explained you what he did, where he get the money first, and what those transactions is own bills or the business bills. And as your accounts, like we do right now, we must identify the transaction first and put on the trial balance as a correct figure. This is the important one. Okay, next one, the 29th of February. So we paid, company paid 1,200 for rental of business premises. So we made some expenses. As we do, our expenses is being increased, is the rental expenses. We show on the debit side, right? 1,200. So you have to remember, the transaction said that we paid for rental of business premises, like maybe we have some stocks where our goods are being saving or something else. So we pay for rental, it's office or any kind of stocks would be. If we do payment for the rental, it means that our expenses been increased. As our expenses which we may, it's our assets, that resources, that activities we do, it would be increased. We show always on the debit side. So you remember, all expenses made like telephone, electricity bills, rental expenses, or advertising expenses, all be shown on the debit side as it increased. So next one, the last transaction is February 30. Paid 220 to repair the office equipment. So we made some payments to repayment, right? Office equipment, maybe our table and the office table being broken, so we have to repay, and we paid for the repayment. So we made the payment for repayment, as is our expenses as well. We put on the debit side. Here is repair office equipment expenses. We call it a repair expense for 220, and we put under the debit side. So after all, we made all transactions. We put on the right positions as a debit and credit side. We must calculate the total figures, right? On the debit side, it becomes 7,004. On the credit side, it becomes 5,995. As you can see, what we can see in this picture, first, we don't have any equation, right? But we should have in the trial balance, as a balance sheet, we always must have a balance or equation between the debit and the credit side, between the assets and the liability and owner's equity, right? You remember formula? The assets equal to liability plus owner's equity. As we don't have an equation, in this picture we can say that that we made more expenses that we have a money. So we have a money for around 6,000, but we made expenses for 7,000, right? Approximately. That it's always like we do expenses for more than amount that we have actually in our pockets money. That would happen, like we take some on credits or pay later or something else. So in this situation, you remember we had a solution for this situation that we should the balance carry down. So we take the highest amount, 7,004, and minus the lowest one is the 5,995, and get the balance carried down by the 1,009, right? And then we calculate the total amount for the debit side and the credit side. At the debit side it remains same, 7,004. On the credit side would be changed because we have to summarize the 5,995 with the balance which is carried down 1,009, and we get the balance with the debit side by the 7,004. So you have to remember, now we have a balance in our trial balance. What we should remember that we carried down the balance for 1,000, right? And we have to, after total, we do total amounts. We have to show that the balance brought down for 1,000. For the next month, we have to show that in 1,000 we have been brought down the balance, and on this is 1,000 is once goes anyway. It would be moved for the next month. That we show our credit for 1,000 later than it would be in the future. Okay. So here is we have done our exercise based on trial balance. Sorry. Any questions so far? Okay. So first, I have two kind of questions. Just me show, give you answer. First, asking why we should put the capital when it's increased on the credit side. Because before we have learned topics, how we should make a transaction. When our capital as our liabilities is the money that business owns, right? When it increases, we show on the credit side always. So, and if our capital, for example, here is given as a revenue, service revenue, we have get some revenue like income is increasing, we put on the credit side because those money goes in the capital accounts. And with if revenue increasing, that means the company's capital is increasing. Next question is about you confused with why we put the 4,000 office equipment on the credit side. Okay, let me explain you first. The first transaction with the office supplies, we have purchased it by the cash. You remember? If we paid by the cash, that means we already made a payment for the suppliers, and our office equipment is increasing for 274. But for this office equipment with the February 9, we purchase on the credit. As we purchase on the credit, it means that our liability is being increased by the 4,000. When the liability is increasing, it's always shown on the credit side. And after that, in the future, for example, when we pay for this credit, like 4,000, we make some payments by the cash. Then we show that office equipment is increasing for 4,000 on the debit side. And on the credit side, we show that we already made it. We will take down this 4,000. It wouldn't be here. We put that office equipment is 4,000 on the debit side. That office equipment is being increased. That means like you buy something on the credit side. You buy from the bank TV. You bring that TV in your home, but you bought it on the credit. You cannot assume, you cannot say that this is TV, your own TV, because you bought on credit. You haven't paid for this TV. That is not your own TV yet, because you didn't make a payment for this TV, right? When you do payment by cash or bank, after you close the credit, then you can say that this TV, your own TV, and that means your asset is being increased, and you show on the debit side. If you haven't paid for this TV, that we assume that this TV is not your own TV as your own assets, because it belongs to the shop. Why? Because we haven't made the payment for that, right? This is like simple words trying to explain that we haven't paid for that. Because if for example, in the future we don't have any money and we won't pay for this TV, that means the shop can back this TV to their own office, right? They can get and back this TV to their own shop. If we won't pay we won't make any payment by the credit at the required date. As the banks with the loans, you know that when we get some loans on our houses, for example, mortgage with cost, right? If we won't pay for the bank commissions for the mortgage, then the bank can get back this house and, for example, sell it on the how it's called this for it. We'll do some action. So, and the bank can get back the home if we won't pay for the credit. This is the same things, like same logical thinking. You might assume that if we haven't paid for any kind of equipment that we bought, that means we cannot assume that it's our own assets. This is just explanation. If you do understand, just let me know. So I think you do understand about the office equipment on credit, that why we should put on the credit side. So here we have done two kinds of assignments, which is being homework assignments, and we have a half hour to complete our class, right? The next assignment will be based on the trial balance. This is the practical exercise assignment during the class we have to solve. And let me first give you a break. I think that would be good for you and for me too. Let's make a break for 5 minutes, and then we continue with another kind of exercise, right? You can review all the previous exercises if you would like so. So we do a break for 5 minutes. Right now is okay. It's already at my home country is 4 p.m. In yours is 7:30, right? So it's okay. So break for 5 minutes. Then we're back for our exercise. Okay, some of you say that you're going to leave the classes. It's okay, because all classes are being recorded, so you can see them the next time. But the better if you, of course, if you do participate. Okay, so as I told you, the break for 5 minutes. Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? I was a little disconnected from the internet. So, okay, so about trial balance, it was a little complicated, right? But don't worry, right now we are going to have another exercise based on trial balance, and as well, I give you one more homework assignment based on trial balance. So, to to complete all your misunderstandings based on trial balance. So here is, we have an exercise. So exercise number 1, prepare the trial balance for the following information given you. So transactions involving Alton Enterprise throughout the month of April 2001. So here is giving you transactions, as you can see, accounts, sorry, and in alphabetical order. Just a moment. Here is accounts, and with amounts, the names of accounts and amounts in USD in alphabetical order. So you have to, with this information, you have to prepare the trial balance that separate all these accounts based on their transaction. Separate these transactions based on their accounts, like based on debit or credit side, and separate by the assets, liabilities, or the owner's equity, right? So here is, as I would like to tell you, there is not this alphabetical order, just in like in flow given you. So anyway, sometimes later I will give you some exercise, same as this trial balance will be given you. This is more easier than we had the previous trial balance. We're given just the transactions where you have to identify what these transactions, where we should put on the debit or credit, and identify the transactions belonging to assets or liabilities. But here is already done. You see, you just have to put on the right side, debit or the credit side. And let me show you the answers. And the first thing, I would give you another homework, would be similar for this exercise. So after class would be given. So here is solution for the exercise. First, I was giving you the capital account for the 8,950. You remember we had one column. Here is in the previous, in this assignment, in the just one column given you, and you have to identify which of them is the debit or credit side. And in the solution is already given you, like capital, if it's increasing the capital for 8,900, we should put on the credit side, right? Next one is the drawings. As our expenses is being increased, we put on the debit side. You remember, as the previous assignment, we had the same things, and the drawings we put on the debit side. Next one, opening inventory. Inventory is our goods, right? Is our assets. Is under assets, comes under assets account. So we should put on the debit side for 3,785. When our inventory, like goods, are increasing, is our assets, we always should put on the debit side. Next one, purchases. That means we made some, like this is company buy some goods. So it bought some goods for 23,100. When our purchase is being increased, we put on the debit side. As well, this is like seems our inventory purchases, the goods we bought. Next one, the sales. The sales, this is what is the revenue, right? That the money we receive from our business. When we receive the money that the business we do, we call it revenue or sales. And of course, this money comes to our company accounts. And it would be included on the capital accounts. If its capital is increasing, we put on the credit side 34,485 USD. Right? So sales, you must remember the sales is equal as the revenue. When it's increasing, we put on the credit side. Next one, salaries and wages. What is the salaries and wages that the company pay for its staff for this as a salary or some wages? That means the company make some expenses, right? If its expenses being increased under assets, we put on the debit side for 6,205. Next one, lighting and heating. This is like electricity bills, right? As is expenses, all the bills we made payment is expenses, we put on the debit side for 310. Next one, equipment, that the company assumed that they have purchased some office equipment. So when it's been increased, we put on the debit side for 3,600. Another one, freight outwards. What is it? The goods, this is the freight outwards, means the goods that we are going to send outside, that we're going to send to our customer. It's like in the, maybe it's been as inventory, but we are going to send it in the future as a freight one. So we put on the debit side, that is our assets, the company's resources, for 230. If we haven't paid, we send it, that we put on the assets, right? If we already send this is goods by the courier, I don't know, by the air or by the sea, then it recognized as the sales. Here is, and we put on the sales and put on the credit side. But the freight outwards means that the goods which haven't sent to our customers is still in the company, so we put on the debit side as inventory we do. Okay? Next one, the sales returns. What that means? That we sell some products and our customer might return that product, the goods, for example. Maybe he or she didn't satisfied with quality, for example. Now, when the customers return the products to the company, it's called sales returns. And we put on the debit side as it's our assets being increased, like our goods are getting back to our company. That means it would be increased as our assets, and we put all this on the debit side. Just the sales, we put on the credit side because we receive money for sales, but the sales which is returned already to the company, we won't put as if we get some money from it. We put on the debit side, like our goods getting back to the office, like for example, or to the stocks. So next one, the purchases return. This is the same with the. You remember we put the purchase on the debit side, that we buy something, we buy some goods. But here is we are returning those goods to our partners or to our suppliers. We're returning. And we put on the credit side for 290, that we are returning those goods. Next one, postage and telephones. This is like electricity bills, the internet bills, telephone bills. As it expenses, we put on the debit side for 315. Discount allowed. The discount, that means discount that we give, the discount we give to our customers or to our partners. As when we give discount, that means we make some expenses, right? So this would be assume that we made some expenses and put on the debit side for 285. But discount received, next one, that means we receive the discount when we buy some kind of goods. So we receive the discount for 315. That means the cash like being increased in our company. So as it increased cash, we increase our money. We assume that capital be increased at 315. So we put on the credit side. So always remember the discount received that we put on the credit side. Next one, insurance. For example, we purchase some insurance for our company or for our buildings, like or for our staff. We buy some insurance, like medical insurance. That means we made some expenses, right? As it's expenses, we put on the debit side, it's increasing. Next one, motor vehicles that we buy. We have, for example, we have bought or purchased some car, like 1,000, sorry, for 174. As our equipment is increased, we put on the debit side. The next one, cash in hand. That company have a cash in hand. So as the company having cash, it's assets as well. The company's resources, right? Like motor vehicles, like the inventory company have. It's all the company's cash, or sorry, all company's resources as a cash one. So it should be on the debit side always. Next one, accounts receivable. So here is that the accounts receivable, is that the money that we have to receive in the future. So as we have to receive, we put on the debit side 18,920. But which is accounts payable, that we have to pay. We should make some payments, and the accounts payable, that we have some liabilities, right? That means we have some claims. We put on the credit side, that is liabilities is being increased for around 5,000. So next one, some bank overdrafts as well. Bank overdrafts, like we have to pay bank commissions. So, but we haven't paid. For example, maybe we took some credit and we haven't paid for that. So we'll put on the credit side that is our liability in front of the bank, that we have to pay some commissions to the bank. And we put on the credit side 975. So at the end, we are calculating the total amounts for the debit and credit side. So we have received on the debit side 16,579, and on the credit side 49,880, right? So again, we don't have equation. We should have equation, the balance between the debit and credit side. But as we assume that we have done all correct transactions, we put all the accounts on the right side as the debit and credit side. We have to carry down the balance. So make a deduction between the highest and the lowest size, and then we'll get the 10,699, the balance which would be carried down on the credit side. Then we calculate the total balance with the made corrections. Then we can get the total balance, which is would be debit credit, would have some equal amounts at 60,579, right? And always we should remember that we have put down that the balance brought down would be for the next month for 10,699. So this is was the trial balance, and you would have a homework similar for this trial balance. So you should, I would give you accounts with the figures, and you have to put the accounts on the right side, which would be or debit side or the credit side, okay? So I have some questions. Let me see your question on the charts. Okay, some of you asking me, like, when we buy some motor vehicles, like cars, like automobile, for example, why I put on the is putting on the credit side, debit side, because the motor vehicles as a automobile or car, this is the company's assets, resources. What is a company's assets and resources? what is the company's resource? Is all our company's assets, right? It's not liabilities. It's not the capital or owner's equity. It comes under assets. You remember we had a presentations topic, what is the assets, what is the liabilities. You should remember that the assets includes all cash in hand that company or cash in bank that company have first. Next one, it includes all inventory company have at the moment. Like it includes like all purchases the company makes, or like purchase as well the motor vehicles or cars or buildings or lands, any kind of assets which is company's resources, which is with the help of resource company can make a business, right? With those things. So this is all what we put on the debit side, that we use this kind of accounts like cars, cash, inventory. We use all these kind of assets to make a business, right? To receive the revenue. So, and it must be put on the debit side. On the credit side, we put two things. First is the liability. If company have any claims in front of banks, suppliers, or customers that we have to pay for credit or bank commission or something else, we haven't paid. We made payment on credit and we haven't made the payment by the cash. All this will be liabilities. And as well, on the credit we put the owner's equity, or we call it capital, that the investors that the invest the money to the company, like shareholders, they invest some money. So this would be the company's own money. And as well, when we receive revenue in the transaction, when we show that we have received some revenue, like income, we always have to show on the credit side, because income, revenue directly goes on the capital, right? It will be adjusted to the company's capital. So, and the company capital would be increased, right? And here you have to remember that all money that we have under capital and under liabilities, we use to buy our assets, to buy our assets, which is inventory or purchases, to buy like some equipment, or to make some expenses like telephone bills, rental bills, and so on. So, and why they should be equal? Because they all first depend on the second one. The credit depends on the debit side, and they must be equal. No any kind of money comes over and goes over. Always depends on relate to each other. So this is the answer. And what else I have? And as a kind of questions, let me see. Why we put the discount received on the? So discount received we put on the credit side. Why? Because when we receive the discount, that means like we assume that our revenue is being increased, and it will be adjusted to our capital, and we put on the credit side. It would be listed on the capital accounts. But when we do discounts, like we are giving a discount that we make, that means discount allowed. That means we make some expenses, right? We like selling price for the lower. We sell the goods for the lower price. That means we make some discounts for our maybe loyal customers to keep with us as partners. So that means we make some expenses for us. We goes beyond of our standard price, and that will be assumed as expenses being increased, and we put under assets, which is 285 USD. Okay, this is answer for the discounts. What next? So first, when we have any kind of discount, we have to identify, is this discount we receive, the company receives discounts, or we are giving for our customer discounts. If we are given, it's our expenses. You must think that is our expense you put on the debit side. If we are receiving the discount, that we put on the credit side. You remember with the previous assignment, Adlin Enterprise, it was the same situation. Let me show you first. Here is, we have discount receivable. So we receive the discounts. It's put on under 150 on the debit side. Okay. Okay, here is, okay, I have seen some mistakes. That is why you are asking about this. So here is, we purchased the equipment, right, on the credit. And then we receive some discounts, discount receivable. We receive the discount that what we have bought. That means this is a discount receivable. That means, yes, you are right. Here is a mistake, that this discount receivable in the Adlin price should be on the credit side. Here is. I'm sorry for this. Sometimes the accounts can be mistaken, you see. That's why we prepare the trial balance, to see that if we do correct all the transactions. So, let me. Okay, so discounts receivable on the Adlin price must be put on the credit side. That means we are going to receive the discount receivable. But sorry for this one. Okay, here is, you see what it's not mistake. Because of what? Because first we bought the equipment, we are buying the equipment on the credit, right? We haven't paid for the credit, and here it says that the seller, just a moment, the seller agreed to give a discount from the amount. So he's going to give in the future. That means when we already pay by the cash this 4,000, then we can say that it's discount received, we put on the credit side. But as we haven't paid for the equipment that is still on credit, we put on the debit side. Here is that this is discount receivable in the future. We haven't paid it. This is why it's a different side. Like here is, you can see the Adlin Enterprise on the debit side, by the Alt Enterprise on the credit side, because it's made the payment at the different ways, on the credit and the cash. When we do and the cash, we can recognize that we receive the discounts and put on the credit side, like here is, like at the Adlin Enterprise, this one. But if we like assume we buy it on the credit, that means we haven't paid the money. If we haven't make a payment, that means how we can get a discount if we haven't made any kind of payment for the purchases, right? That is, it haven't been recognized as our revenue. So, and we put on the debit side. So this is the principle of the revenue recognition, that we recognize, the revenue or income when it's already collected, received in your banks, in your accounts, in your hands. If it's not, you can't recognize as you receive it. This is what the answer. So it's not mistake. This is because of these two kind of transactions being made a different way. First is by the credit way, and second is which made payment by the cash one. You see? Okay. Once more, you ask me explain. First, when we buy any kind of purchase or buy any kind of equipment for our office, like furniture or we buy some transport like a car or buildings, for example. If we pay by cash, we put it that its assets like furniture is increased and put on the debit side. And as well, if we receive some discounts based on this purchasement, we put that the discount is received we recognize is our revenue, like small incomes that we have been received from the purchases, and we put on the credit side. Okay, but the second variation, if you buy any kind of furniture, for example, by the credit, that means you haven't made a payment, right? By cash or bank drafts, any kind of. You haven't made the payment. That this kind of furniture still belongs to the shop because you didn't make a payment. And if shop say that I would give you a discount, that means of course you cannot recognize that you have received the discount, because firstly the main point, you haven't made a payment for this. When you do the future the payments for the purchasement, after that you can recognize that you received the discounts, and you put it on the credit side as you received some revenue, like it would be increased adjust to your capital. So here is no mistakes in the two assignments, but the transactions are different, which is first is alien enterprise is purchased by the credit side, by the credit way, haven't made this payment. And the alternate enterprise is, we assume that it's paid by the cash. It's already paid, made a payment, and as well received the discounts. Okay, and as well you cannot make deduction between the price and discount you received, because always you have to remember that you are going to record the price for the equipment at the historical cost, at the real that you do on the invoices or bills, despite of you have any kind of discounts. So you should put the price that you are going to buy. So if you would have discount, then you show that you are going to receive discount. If no, then you won't show it. Yes, too much information for today. I know you might be confused with that. So what I can recommend you? I can recommend to review all these assignments again at your home, at your free time, to review the previous topics that we have done on the trial balance, and where we identified what is assets, liabilities, and so on. Because if you do remember, you won't have any questions why we put on the debit side or credit side, because you do understand what is that kind of transaction is, what is kind of accounts is, assets or liabilities. You see, some of you might forget about the previous topics, the information from the previous topics, I mean. So it's the better to review it 2 or 3 times, that you can remind it. So any questions so far? Yes, okay. Some of you are asking that how you can recognize that you recorded the transaction at the right side. This would be given to you with the practice one. You see, when we do local practices, then you would remind that all expenses like advertising is on the debit side. You see, if you won't see it before that, then you cannot recognize it, which is accounts. What is accounts is under which side comes, right? So first is the practice. Always practice and learn. And second one, try to identify the accounts. Try to understand the accounts itself. I mean, to understand the transactions. Think logically. You see, if we make some purchases, what is this? If we make some expense, what is that? the expenses one. If we receive revenue, that means what? The revenue, that means we receive the money. And revenue would be adjusted to our capital, right? The first is practice. Second is think logically. And third is try to review all the previous topics. That would help you to make your right solutions. Sometimes the accounts as well can be mistaken when they prepare the trial balance, you see? But before you do, like if we don't have any equation, like we do some balance carry, we carry down balance or brought down the balance, we have to be sure that all transactions, this is kind of accounts, is being put on the correct side, debit or credit. After, if you have no any kind of question on that, and you are sure that all are correct, then you can make a balance the carry down. If it's sometimes I give you exercise where you have to carry down balance. Sometimes I give you exercise with already equation. So in that kind of situation, you must think that you have done right recordings. So here is, that's all I think so for the exercise that we have done. So let me show you that you have a homework assignment based on the trial balance. So we have to strengthen our knowledge on the trial balance, right? Because it's the main importance, the statement that we going to start as a financial or managers or accounts, we prepare the trial balance. Then we move to the balance sheet and then income statement. And I'm going to give you another assignment. Here is homework number 4. The assignment was based on the preparation of the trial balance. This is exercise number 2, to prepare the trial balance for the following information. So you have some transactions, which is under Cascade Enterprise Company throughout the month of June 2008. Here is given to you the transactions with the figures. So you have to prepare the trial balance and put all these figures on the right side, debit and credit side. Here is. So this is the same exercise as we had the previous one, like with the Onlline Enterprise, this one, right? It's the same, just figure are different ones. So but this exercise would be different with the balance you must think about, because I prepared this exercise and made an equation between the debit and credit side. So you first, this is like little answer for you. You must think that you must have an equation between the debit and credit side. You won't carry down any balance or brought down the balance, because you already, with these figures, with these accounts, you have an equation between the debit and credit side. So after you put all the accounts on the right side, you must have a balance between debit and credit. If you want, that means you're mistaken in some kind of areas, but you must have a balance. So this is for you as a homework. I'm going to send you after the class this homework number 4 course. Yes, here is both sides are same, the credit and debit side. So it's easy for you that when you put all the accounts on the debit or credit side, you do calculation of the total amount, then you can get that. Have you done it wrong? All right. You see, that would be more easy for you to understand the trial balance itself. No, you won't be put the balance carried down or brought down. So all this would be equal, debit and credit side in the Cascade enterprise. Yes, you have just prepared the trial balance. You see, here is assignment. Prepare the trial balance for the following, for these transactions. So, and what else? I'm going to send you after the class first, and you send me your answer before the next session would be start, before the next Friday, at least at Thursday, that I would be able to check all your papers. Okay? So any questions? So today we have done some practice exercise, right? A lot of that. 2 homework assignment, 1 is a class assignment. That's very good. So once you have a homework one. So that's all for today, I think. So you have got a lot of information, by the way. And we have some new topics, which I think we do at the next classes, which is on the preparation of balance sheet and trial balance. So before to move for the new topics, we must to complete our previous, right? We have to understand the trial balance, the whole one, I mean, and able to prepare it at with the different transactions. So, and at the next class, I will give you as well homework, which is homework number 5. It would be based on the balance sheet and the trial balance. And I will tell you that it will be more complicated. More complicated, yes. Little. The income statement would be so interesting for you. As the income statement as well, this is the main financial statement which most of organizations use as the external information to show its financial position of the company to the external user, like banks, government bodies, or taxation bodies, and so on. And we are going to solve all those exercises. That will be also interesting. So that's all for today. No, if no any questions, we can complete our class. Okay, some of you asked me about the question about the finance paper exemption. No, I don't remember, sorry, because you have a lot of charts. I'm trying to read all of your messages. The better situation, you know, if you email me your questions, all your questions to my mailbox, and you have to remember that as we have a big difference at the time, to compare the Afghanistan with the Montenegro, with where I do live, I'm not always be able to check my mailbox on that time. You think so? I mean, I need a time. So just email me all your questions regarding your assignments or something else you have. Mail me. But if you mail me, I can save. It will be saved in my mailbox, and I will anyway will see. If you chat me to this WebEx program, this information won't be saved. I can't see your question. I can't remember as well. And as I know, I would like to say you about the all homework assignments that you are sending me. That all of them I receiving. I'm checking them and I'm making the list, like putting all your names and what kind of assignment you have done, which is correct or which is incorrect, which is being mistaken. And I won't put your marks based on this is a during classes assignments. At the all finance class when it would be complete, I will going to let's say to calculate, to make all adjustments of your correct answer to your exam marks. You see, that is a better situation because now we have only like classes like the theory exercise and so on. if I do give you some results, it's like for you, you can do understand like have you done right or not. But anyway, you see at each class we can see the right correct answers, so you can compare it with yourself where you have done wrong, where have you done correctly, and where you have done correctly. This kind of your points would be adjusted to your exam results, as I told you already. That would be better for you, because sometimes that if you would be not good in the exam questions, so that the homework assignments points will be give you a good benefit. You see, that's why I do like this. My evaluation, I always do consider your homework assignments papers as well your participation in the classes. So, and I know you haven't received any feedback. Let me explain you first things. That I have around 30, 40 students. You assume that how many papers I would receive and I'm checking them, but I cannot give you individual feedback because it takes a lot of time. But at the end of the finance class, I will send you for each of you how many homework assignments have you done and which of them have been correctly. But besides of this, you can do your own. Just compare with my answer, right? But when I do the checking your papers, I also consider where is the most of students are being mistaken. Why is they mistaken? This is why the class I explained that most of you have been giving me answer this kind of, but that would be like mistaken or something else. Like it would be not full answer. Then I will explain. You give explain. If you have done it correctly, then what kind of feedback? That you are very great in the accounting, so no any questions so far from my side, right? So you says me that you don't have any keys to compare you. So let me show you first. For example, the accounting conversion. Now you can see the right answers. Oh, okay. I have to email you as well, so you would be able to compare with your answers. That's right. So sorry, maybe I haven't consulted about this question. So after class, we'll send you the answer, the course answer based on the exercises. Then you will be able to compare yourself, okay? So that's why you're asking how you would be able to compare. I do understand right now. So yeah, that would be okay. So we'll send you the accounting conventions and answer and under trial balance, and this one as well. And new homework assignment, which is under trial balance, okay? So all of them you have to get after class. So that's all, I think so. And as well, you see, I have a lot of kind of information that I'm receiving from the students. For example, sometimes in the future, I will give you by the 2 assignments or 3 assignments. And you have to understand how a lot of information I can get on my mailboxes. I won't be able to give you a feedback individually. But anyway, I'm checking always all your answers. It's all on my list of the students. I have it. And as well, I cannot show my students list for all of you, whereas I have marked all the students by the answers, because you can compare that, okay, these students have done right, I'm not. Like, you know, it would be evaluated not ethically for the other students. That some of you might think that I'm not good in finance, that all you have done right, or like any kind of compliance can be. Or you can compare yourself. You won't be compared because you are not competitors. You are students. You are must be as a friends, and you are as a helper to each other, as a team one. So you should work as a team. So I won't show you all the marks for all of you. So I give only individually that you will be able that you have done right or no. That's why I'm not showing you the list of all the your answers. You see? And as well, when you have exams, when I would mark you, I would send you individually your marks for individual students. Because some of you may be ashamed that you have done not so good as you're supposed to, or some of not. I mean, a lot of kind of things could be happen when you see the information from the other students, you know. Then that would, so that's all actually for today. If no any questions, we can finish right now. Yes, you say that the mistakes you do in the homework assignments won't be negative. It won't be negatively would be not negatively impact your exam marks because of why? The first, as I know, you are like some of you have no experience at the finance or accounting, that you are learning in the learning process. That's why I'm not marking you. I will be considered only correct answers, and the correct answer would be reflected in the points, and those points will be adjusted to your exam papers. But if you already done the exam papers with the right answers, then you don't need any adjustments, right? If you get the highest mark. If you get not the highest marks, you need to pass the exam few points, then I will be considered all your the homework assignment that you have done correctly. You see? This is all would be benefit you. Firstly, your marks and your study. In my practice, I'm always actually trying to increase the marks for the students, as I do understand this is online teaching first, and then most of you don't have the specialization, or you didn't have a previously practice on the finance or accounting. And this is a not theory topics where we can just learn and understand by some tale stories and examples. This is where you can have you train your brains, make calculations, have some maths knowledges, and so on. You see, I do understand this kind of things, so you shouldn't worry about your marks on the exam. So happy Women's Day. Okay, thank you very much. If you have a woman in our classes, so happy Women's Day for you too. Because sometimes it's difficult to me recognize your names by the man or woman, but most of you we have some men. I think so. I guess the Miss Lida, I can congratulate you as well. That's all I think. Miss Vida, I think so. If I'm mistaken, sorry. It's sometimes difficult for me because of different countries, different names. So thanks a lot and goodbye. Just wait my mails after the classes, or after class I will send you during the half an hour. Okay. So and goodbye. That's all for today. Hope you joined the class.